Hi, this is Serena from Cowichee Creek Nursery. I actually wanted to do some work in my yard and I need a few plants. So I'm coming to my mom's yard who has a ton of plants, some of the ones I really want, and we're going to show you how to take chunks off of existing perennials and transplant them. So she's got a lot of these ladies' mantle, and I love them and I want them kind of lining my lawn area. So I need two of them. I'm going to show you how to do one here. So it's pretty easy to do. When you're coming in and you want to take a chunk off of a perennial, come to a spot that is not going to be seen. So because when you get in there and start shoveling, you're going to do a little bit of damage to the existing foliage. This is probably ideally done when perennials are first starting to come up and they're only about this tall. However, I got everything planted in my yard and I just now realized I wanted to add a few more. So we are doing this probably not at the ideal time, but it can still be done, and we're going to show you how to do that. So if you come in a little closer and take a look, you can look down in the perennial. I'm going towards the back because I don't want this to be real obvious that I'm taking stuff out. And you kind of look for a chunk that you can take off. And here is a real obvious chunk, if you can see that. And there's a spot for my shovel. And perennials will do this. See, there's another one right here. So you don't want to cut right in the middle of this unless you have to, and it's a really thick growing perennial. But find where you can take an entire plant, because that's sort of how they grow, and there's sections of those all over here. But I do want to go towards the back. Get a nice sharp shovel, and I'm going to put my shovel in here. Be careful not to put your shovel in at an angle. You're going to chop off too many roots. So make sure you put your shovel in straight. I'm going to start right here. I'm going to put the foliage aside so I don't do too much damage. And I'm going to go straight down. Okay, and before I do any of that, I'm just going to pull trying to dig it out. I'm going to pull it out and put my shovel in another spot and go straight down there. Okay, so I've got most of that broken off. I'm going to come over here, untangle those. Do a few more. And go fairly deep. You want to get as many roots as you can. The more roots you have, the more successful your plant will be. If you take too many roots, it's not that it won't live, but it will be harder on it, because if you have a lot of the top and not very many roots, that's very stressful for the plant. Okay, so I've gone all the way around. So now I'm going to start loosening. And now is when I can kind of get my shovel down in there and turn it, so get it at an angle so it will go underneath the section that I'm bringing up. I'm going to come back from this side again. But this time I'm going to go down in. Let's get that there. And now I can pull it up. Okay, so here is my perennial. Here's my ladies' mantle that's going to come to my yard. And you can see I haven't done too much damage here. These will pop back up here, and I will fill this hole in. We don't need a hole there. Now, when you're doing one that is so large and long, you probably want to cut it back. So I've got some clippers here. Now, cutting it back, you're trying to eliminate stress and energy having to keep this alive. You want the energy to go to growing roots and growing new growth. So you can see where there's new things coming out right here. I'm going to cut back to that. And you could just chop this. I'm actually going to try to make it not look too bad here. Let's see where I'm at there. That's not too bad. And if I get this in my yard and I water this in and I feel like it still needs to go back further, I could, in theory, cut this all the way down to the ground, right down to the quick. It will send up new growth from the base, from the roots coming up from there. And that's fine. I'm going to try to leave some of the foliage. I just basically took the flowers off, took some of the stems down a bit to cause it to kind of force it to branch out. Putting energy towards branching out and towards root growth is what I want it to do. So when you put this in your yard, make sure you dig a big enough hole. Make sure you get it deep enough because you want this to be the same level here. So you want your soil to come up. You don't want this sticking up. If that sticks up, it's going to dry out. It'll take longer for it to get rooted. And some perennials, like peonies, actually don't like that to the point where they may not even bloom if they're planted too deep or too high. So make sure you get the right soil level and water it in very well. It's a warm day today, pretty hot out here, but it's muggy, so I know we're gonna get some rain later. That will help, but rain won't be enough water to water your plant in. So make sure you get a hose, water it in 3 times. Like I showed you with the roses, I make a moat with mine, a bowl, water that in, let it drain, water it, drain, fill it up, drain. I do it 3 times minimum before I call that good enough where I know that water has gotten down and soaked in all of those roots, and I can walk away from that, put it on automatic watering, and just check back in with it every day to make sure it's getting enough water. So there you have it. I hope that was helpful for you. Thank you.